I always believed that family meant love and support. As a child, I was wrapped in the warmth of my grandfather's hugs, reminded through countless tales that family was a sacred bond fortified by shared history and mutual care. His passing left a void that I had hoped our family would fill, coming together in empathy and remembrance. I thought we would share laughter and tears as we celebrated his life, reflecting on those Sunday dinners with laughter echoing against the walls, and the stories he told that seemed to drift from the pages of a well-worn book. But that image quickly shattered when the day of the reading of the will unfolded. I stood in the living room of the home where I'd spent countless summers as a child, the smell of musty books and old photographs swirling around me. A blend of sandalwood and wood polish clung to the air, mingling with the tension that thickened like fog. "Is everyone here?" My stepmother's voice cut through the stillness like a sharp blade, crisp and layered with a tightness that hinted at what was to come. I glanced around the room, taking in the faces of my family. My younger brother, who still carried that naive spark of innocence about him, leaning back against the couch, his arms crossed and shoulders tense. My stepmother, her face artfully etched as if her carefully applied makeup could mask the hidden motives brewing beneath the surface. "Let's get to it," my stepmother continued, her polished nails tapping against the glossy table, an impatient rhythm that made my heart race. My brother shifted nervously, the anxious energy radiating off of him like heat from a furnace. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "Do we really have to?" I asked, my voice wavering slightly as the sense of impending dread pressed down on me. I rubbed my palms against the fabric of my jeans, trying to ground myself. "Yes, we do," she snapped, her tone laced with impatience. "Your grandfather worked hard for what he had. It is time we respect his wishes." I watched her, her smile strained yet self-satisfied, which only added to my unease. As the lawyer droned on, reading legal jargon that felt designed to keep us in the dark, I tried to tune it out, but snippets cut through the fog. "Real estate worth over $500,000, and the estate's maintenance has been entrusted solely to your stepmother." Each word hit me like a cold wave crashing down, receding only to leave behind a weight of confusion. "Anything for you two depends on your ability to prove yourselves," the lawyer continued, avoiding looking at either my brother or me. "What does that even mean?" My brother blurted out, the youthful edge in his voice cracking under the weight of reality. "It means, my sweet children," my stepmother started, her smile morphing into something that felt more like a sneer, "that you will be receiving nothing unless you demonstrate initiative for your inheritance." My heart sank. I had 1,000 questions clawing their way to the surface, but I could only manage to stutter out, "What do you mean, demonstrate initiative?" "Exactly what I said," she replied, crossing her arms defiantly, her eyes glinting with a victorious spark. "You both have to earn your way to a piece of this. Life doesn't hand you anything, it demands hard work. If you want even a fraction of what is rightfully yours, you need to show me you're worthy of it. Maybe a job, perhaps some real effort in the family business." The word business hung thickly in the air, suffocating me as if it were more than a mere term. Somehow it felt like a weapon. My brother's face turned an ugly shade of crimson, and I could see the tremors rattle in his hands. "Are you serious? This is Grandpa's stuff. He wouldn't want us to be treated like this," he protested, his youthful outrage boiling over. "A lovely sentiment, brother dear, but your grandfather is not here," she shot back, her voice dripping with mock empathy. "And you should keep in mind that I have been running the show since he passed. This is mine now." I felt as if the room had spun around me, emotions swirling into confusion and anger. I clenched my jaw, trying to maintain some semblance of control. "How can you stand there and say that? You are not even related by blood. You don't know anything about family business or what it takes to run things," she spat back, the veneer of control slipping momentarily as passion sparked in her darkened eyes. "My husband made it very clear how he wanted things. If you think it is easy to maintain what he created, you are sorely mistaken." I could feel the sting of tears forming, threatening to break the surface. I blinked rapidly, forcing them down. "You're greedy. This isn't about us honoring grandfather's memory. This is about you wanting to hold on to everything he worked for. You aren't old enough to understand real responsibility," she shot back. "Enough!" I cried out, the both of us caught in a heated deadlock. My words hung in the air, heavy like a wall between us. I wanted to scream, to lash out and shake the very foundation of her arrogance, but instead I took a deep breath, trying to wrap my brain around the absurdity of the situation as this woman, this complete stranger in my life, stood in front of me like some twisted imposter ruling over a realm she had no right to inherit. "Why are you doing this to us?" My brother's voice cracked, echoing my own disbelief. I turned to him, my heart breaking as he looked at me with wide eyes, searching for an anchor in this chaos, in the storm my stepmother had brought with her. "Life isn't fair, kid," she replied, waving her hand dismissively, shifting back into the domineering role she wore so effortlessly. If you want to survive, you better get used to fighting for what you want. Every line on her face that once felt friendly and wife-like now felt sharp and defensive, like a mask slipping away. I felt crushed and emptiness growing inside me, watching her arrogance take over what was supposed to be our inheritance, our legacy. All I had ever known was the warmth of family, and here she was turning it into a battlefield, soaking it in greed and self-indulgence. Unbelievable, I mumbled under my breath, the bitterness pooling in my throat. Believe it, she replied coldly, her gaze unwavering. I suggest you two start brainstorming how you can contribute. She turned sharply to the lawyer, effectively dismissing us with her movement. I expect a proposal soon, she added without looking back. Once the reading was over and the lawyer had left, I felt my brother slump against the couch, his frustration radiating off him like heat from a furnace. What just happened? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, barely able to stand the weight of reality. I don't know, I managed, my own voice trembling. But we cannot let her win, not like this. There was a moment of silence, punctuated only by the sound of the clock ticking on the wall, each tick echoing the remnants of our family's happiness that felt now like distant echoes. My brother nodded, determination shining in his eyes amidst the confusion. All right, what do we do? He asked, gripping my shoulder anxiously. I felt a fire ignite deep within me, fueled by the injustice of it all. I may not know the exact means yet, but I would find a way to make sure our grandfather's legacy was honored, not twisted into someone else's empire of greed. I don't know, I said softly, but we will figure this out together. I looked deeply into his eyes, gathering the strength to reclaim our family and our rightful place. Little did she know the fire she had ignited within me. As we stepped out into the fading sunlight, the shadows creeping in to blanket the afternoon, I realized that this was only the beginning. The path ahead was twisted and filled with darkness, yet I felt the calling of revenge whisper like distant waves crashing upon rocky shores. I would not let this woman take everything we held dear without a fight. The closure in the family line would be shattered no longer as the days passed. My frustration morphed into determination. Every morning felt like a battle, waking up under the same roof as her. My stepmother roamed the house with an air of superiority that made my skin crawl, and my brother barely uttered a word anymore. He had become a shell of himself, defeated by her relentless dismissal. Whenever I tried to voice my concerns, she reacted with a laugh that seemed to echo in the corners of my mind, a reminder of my perceived weakness. "Oh, darling, you still believe you can stop me," she would say, waving her hand dismissively as if I were a pesky fly buzzing around her head. It infuriated me. "This is my house now," she would declare, and I felt my heart sink every single time. One evening, I could feel the tension in the air thicken as my brother and I found ourselves sitting at the worn oak kitchen table, a place that had witnessed countless family dinners and arguments alike. The aroma of lingering spices from that evening's hastily prepared dinner still hung in the air, but I barely noticed. My focus was sharpened laser-like on what was at stake. The walls, decorated with fading photographs of happier times, seemed to close in around us, amplifying our whispered conversations. "We need a real plan," I said, my voice low as if we were plotting some heist. "We can't let her just decide our fate without putting up a fight." "I just don't think it will work," my brother replied, his shoulders slumping. He stared down at his hands, fingers fiddling with the frayed edge of the tablecloth. "Every time we confront her, she just laughs. Look where that's gotten us." His voice was heavy with defeat, and I could see his eyes clouded with frustration and hopelessness. It hurt to watch him like this, a far cry from the boy who once stood proudly next to me, ready to take on the world. "We have to be smarter. We have to outmaneuver her," I insisted, determination bubbling up inside me like a storm. "If she thinks we are children, then we need to show her that we can think like adults." The words hung in the air, a challenge not just to her but to myself as well. "What about digging into the financials? We could find something, anything, that proves she has no right to sell the house." He narrowed his brow, the faintest flicker of hope crossing his features briefly before it faded. "And what if we don't find anything? What if there's nothing to leverage against her? It could backfire and then we would be worse off." I hated to hear the resignation in his tone, the way he had seemingly accepted defeat. "She plans to sell it," I pressed, my heart racing at the thought. "That piece of history, our grandfather's legacy, all of it for what? A new luxury car." The idea alone felt like a punch to the gut, memories of summers spent on the porch, laughter ringing through the air while my grandfather told stories of days long gone. Maybe we should just let it go. Maybe we should get out of here, start fresh somewhere else. His tone was barely above a whisper, barely holding on to any shred of excitement. "No," I snapped, anger bubbling up inside me. "You don't get it. This is our home. We have a right to stand up to her. I cannot let her just erase everything my grandfather built because she wants a quick buck." My heart thudded a furious rhythm in my chest. There was an uneasy silence between us, thick and suffocating. The only sound was the clicking of the clock on the wall echoing in the background, counting down each passing second. Each moment I felt we drifted closer to losing not just the house, but our childhood. My brother finally looked back up at me, and for just a brief moment I thought I saw the spark of rebellion flare in his eyes. What if she finds out we are digging around? What if she tries to cut us off from everything? Let her try. My voice rang out, a fierce battle cry against the encroaching despair. Let her try, but she will not take this from us. I refuse to let her win. As I spoke, a thought began to crystallize in my mind. A spark ignited, quickly transforming into an idea that coursed through my veins like wildfire. I could feel the adrenaline rushing, pushing me beyond the brink of fear into a realm where cunning and strategy would rule the day. The more I thought about our stepmother, her smug smile, the way she dismissed us, the more I saw how desperate we had become. This was no mere confrontation, this was war. I'm going to find a way to expose her. I won't let her hide behind her authority. She thinks she can manipulate us, but we can turn that against her, I said, a plan forming in my mind like an intricate puzzle. What if we found her weaknesses? Everyone has something they're afraid of. We just have to be clever about it. My brother leaned forward, curiosity sparking in his eyes. You mean like blackmail? His tone was hesitant, but I could sense he was slowly warming to the idea. Not blackmail per se, but we need to find something she's hiding. All the times I overheard her talking about finances with that shady partner of hers, the way they whispered behind closed doors, all of it points to something. The taxes, the bank statements, we need to get a hold of them. My heart raced faster, the thrill of the game pulsing through me. But how? He pressed, his intrigue beginning to overshadow his fear. We wait until she leaves, and one of us goes into her office. She always leaves her files piled up on her desk. If we time it right, we can sift through them before she returns. The excitement mingled with a hint of fear as I spoke, a rush of adrenaline fueling my every word. The plan felt reckless, but so did the thought of inaction. You really think we can pull this off? He asked, a glimmer of apprehension replacing his earlier defeat. I do, I replied, tone flat but confident. Why else are we still talking instead of accepting defeat? I will not let her walk away with our history, our memories, without a fight. If we pull this off, we can take the first real step toward changing this. We can finally turn the tables. He hesitated, biting his lip, but I saw resolve start to firm on his face. Okay, I'm in, but we have to be careful if she suspects anything. I nodded, knowing the stakes. Trust me, I have a plan for that too. We'll keep it simple and quick. We won't stick around longer than needed. If we stay alert, she won't even see it coming. Just then, the heavy door swung open and the refrigerator hummed on with an ominous drone. I glanced up to see our stepmother stride into the kitchen, her heels clicking against the tiles in a rhythmic march. She stopped short, eyeing us quizzically. All this whispering sounds suspicious. What are you two plotting? Should I worry? She asked, feigning mock concern, but I saw the glimmer of annoyance flitting across her eyes. It made my blood boil. Nothing, just discussing your plans for dinner, I replied, my voice calm yet brimming with hidden strength. Her smile widened, the corners of her mouth curling up in that condescending way that made my stomach churn. Well, I hope it involves something interesting. I'm going to need all the energy I can muster for what's to come. She moved to the counter, rifling through the cabinets for a glass, and my brother and I exchanged nervous glances. I could feel my heart pounding as the tension in the room built to an almost unbearable level. Just so you know, she continued, pouring water into the glass, the sound echoing between us like a countdown timer, we will be listing this house soon. I have my eyes on something much better. With that, she turned, holding her glass as if it were a trophy. I couldn't take it anymore. Just the thought of her selling our childhood home, the very place where I had waged countless battles against imaginary foes, made a surge of rage bubble to the surface. No, I snapped, my voice breaking through the fog of tension that her presence had cast over us. You can't, this is our home, it's not just a house to sell. She turned her head slowly, lips pursed, regarding me with a mixture of surprise and amusement. Oh, it is a house to sell, sweetie. You see, I am the one who holds the title, and you two are just long-forgotten tots. With a fire ignited inside me, I stood taller, refusing to let her belittle us any longer. We won't let you erase this place or what it means to us. Her laughter came out brittle, almost like glass shattering. And what will you do? Write me a letter? I will find a way, I said, firm with conviction, determination burning inside. I could see my brother's eyes widening as if he, too, felt the weight of everything shifting. This was more than a simple confrontation. This was our chance against her, an entry point into a larger game of strategy and resolve. I could feel hope rising like dough in the warmth of an oven as we prepared to step into the light of a new plan on the horizon. The moment hung in the air, charged and electric, and I could almost taste the future beginning to unfurl before us. If she thought she could win, she was in for a surprise, because now I was ready to fight. My heart raced with the knowledge of what was at stake. All I could think was, this was just the beginning. With resolve boiling inside me, I turned to social media as a tool for justice. The weight of the moments leading up to this felt like an anchor, dragging me deeper into a sea of frustration and anger. My stepmother's plans to sell our family home, the very place where my grandfather had nurtured his dreams, where I had built countless memories, felt like a betrayal. My fingers hovered above the touchscreen of my phone, but I drew a deep breath, steeling myself. This was it. I had to fight back. I carefully crafted a post, my thoughts swirling like the autumn leaves outside my window. I can't believe what I am about to say, I began, my heart racing as I poured my thoughts onto the screen. My stepmother has decided to sell our family home, a place filled with our memories and my grandfather's love. He always said that home is where the heart is, and it feels like she's preparing to rip our hearts out. I wove in anecdotes about Christmas mornings spent in front of the fireplace, the laughter echoing through the hallways, and how my grandfather's voice still lingered in every corner, telling his favorite stories. I could feel the heat radiating from my body as I typed, a blend of anger, sadness, and an odd kind of empowerment. If you believe that a family home should be honored and cherished and not tossed aside for monetary gain, please share this. Stand with me and fight for my grandfather's legacy. My finger hovered over the post button. I glanced out the window at the neighborhood I had known all my life. The old oak tree in my yard stood tall and proud, whispering secrets from generations past. I took a deep breath and pressed post. My heart raced and I watched as my words began to spread into the digital ether. Within hours, likes and comments piled up like autumn leaves gathering at the base of that oak tree. "Ella, we are with you," one neighbor wrote. "You can't let her do this," echoed another reply. Friends shared my post and I felt the warmth of community wrapping around me. My heart swelled with each new comment and I fought back tears. For the first time, the sense of power surged through me, pushing away my insecurities like a gust of wind scattering leaves across the yard. "Thank you, everyone," I replied to the growing thread, feeling emboldened. "We must honor my grandfather's memory. This home represents him and the love he gave our family." I could almost hear the whispers of support rising beyond the screen, and a fire in my chest began to burn brighter. As I sat back watching the reactions unfold, a familiar ping pulled me to my messages. It was her, the stepmother. "Ella, the house needs to be sold. This is not a decision you can stop. You are being dramatic." Her words were cold and clipped like ice shards cutting through the warmth of my resolve. My fingers trembled as I read her message. Dramatic? Did she really think that I would quietly submit to her plans? Deep anger surged through me as I imagined the life she planned for, with endless cash and new furniture in a house that was not even ours to sell. "It is not dramatic to fight for what is right," I shot back, my heart hammering. As I placed my phone down, the notifications continued pinging like the occasional crackle of a fire. But amidst the chaos, I noticed several others emerging from the shadows of social media. People I barely knew or had not talked to in years began to offer support. "I remember playing in that yard as a kid. Your grandfather fixed our roof for free once. You must honor his memory." The comments flooded in, painting a hopeful picture. "We will come by and talk to her," a neighbor offered. "We all know what kind of person she is." Each word built a wall around me, shielding me from the coldness of her intentions. Each supporter was a brick in my fortress, reminding me that this fight was not just mine. Days blurred by in a haze of social interactions and private messaging. I watched as community members began visiting our home, standing up to my stepmother. I could hear the sharp tones of their voices through the walls, fierce and unwavering, demanding she honor my grandfather's memory and stop her schemes. I clenched my fists. Her tight hold on the situation was loosening, and with each visit her grip shattered a little more. "Ella," I heard her voice rise, brittle like glass. "Why are they all here?" "They don't understand. You have to let me take control." "The only thing we understand," a neighbor replied firmly, "is that this home is part of a legacy. You do not get to take that away." From my vantage point in the living room, I saw her expression. The familiar signs of rage, tight jaw, narrowed eyes, brought an involuntary shiver down my spine, but today the fear no longer gripped me. It was almost funny. She was the one who looked cornered, not me. "Ella, you need to speak to your friends," she shouted, desperation leaking into her tone. "They are causing trouble. I cannot deal with this. They don't have a right to come here." Desperation seeped into her words like a desperate cry for help. I could see her lean into the walls, her back visibly trembling, as if she was trying to steady herself against the rising tide of opposition. My heart raced anew. I was filled with a sense of satisfaction as I watched her crumble under the weight of it all. "This house doesn't just belong to you anymore," I said, my voice steady. "It belongs to my grandfather, and I cannot just stand by while you throw away his memory. This is not just a piece of property, it is our home." "Take your friends and leave," she retorted, her voice shaky but fierce. "You have no idea what you're doing." "We know exactly what we are doing," I shot back, exchanging glances with the neighbors who remained behind me, heads high, voices steady. More footsteps echoed down the hallway as others joined the growing number outside. Each face reflected determination, solidarity. It felt electric. There was power in our unity, and I felt myself rise, fueled by what was happening around me, grasping at the energy we provided each other. Ella, this is ridiculous, she continued to whine, her voice growing increasingly frantic. You are ruining everything. What do you think will happen when they're all gone? You will be left with nothing. That was a clear lie. I wouldn't be left with nothing. The truth was that my heart swelled with a newfound hope and clarity. This house could be saved, and this neighborhood filled with warmth, laughter, and shared history could be preserved. What I think will happen is that we will win, and you will be the one left with nothing, wasted potential and shattered dreams taking a toll on your soul. I refuse to let you treat our memories as nothing more than a transaction for profit. The tension crackled in the air, charged with something beyond simple conflict. It was a perfect collision of old wounds and fresh hopes and laughter. From the crowd outside, I could hear someone joking about old memories, perhaps reminiscing about the last 4th of July barbecue, the sizzling burgers, the laughter and cheer that filled the air. It was a movement that would not allow itself to fall into silence and dust. It was as though the totality of our shared experiences, laughter and love was pushing back against her greed, creating a palpable force of its own. I cannot even look at you, she spat, her voice now barely above a whisper, but I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, a ghost of panic creeping into her features as she glanced around. I know you think you are powerful, I whispered back, stepping closer. This community stands behind me, ready to protect the heart of this home, to honor the legacy my grandfather entrusted to us, and you cannot take that away. The energy shifted dramatically. A ripple of understanding and support ran through those surrounding me. I looked out at them, the neighbors who had come to defend not just the house but something much greater. I was no longer afraid of her empty threats that echoed through the rooms like the echo of a slamming door. This was about more than just me. This was about the love, the laughter, the spirit of family that thrived within our walls. As we faced her together, I felt a sense of calmness settle over me like a comforting blanket. The past weeks had shifted the ground underneath my stepmother, and I could sense her realization. She was losing this game. I will not let you destroy all that, I stated confidently, relief flooding my veins. This was my turning point, something I had waited too long to claim. This home will remain our sanctuary, our history, and it will continue to nurture many more memories for the future. At that moment, I felt the weight of many eyes on me, eyes filled with unity and strength, all saying, "We believe you." The roiling turmoil and ache within me began to settle as the voices of the people around me rose up, forming an impenetrable wall against the darkness that my stepmother had tried to impose. I think we've said enough, one of the neighbors declared, rising to envelop my words in solidarity. It is time for you to reconsider your actions and honor this legacy. We will not leave until we hear from you. I nodded, feeling a wave of adrenaline pulse through me. This was it. The house was saved, and it was no longer just a fight for me. It was a fight for all of us who had ever loved this place, who had ever felt joy within its walls. And as my stepmother stood there, visibly unraveling, I felt the confidence swell in my heart. The power flowed within me like the roots of that mighty oak outside. Unyielding and deep, I stood at the threshold of the attic, the heavy wooden door creaking ominously as if protesting the disturbance after years of neglect. Dust motes danced in the beams of sunlight that managed to creep through the tiny, grimy window. I inhaled deeply, mixing the stale, musty smell of time-worn objects with the sharp tang of anticipation that prickled at my senses. My brother would be here soon, and I needed to be ready. Emboldened by the community's support and my own resolve, I wasn't going to let my stepmother dictate what happened to our family's legacy any longer. With determination coursing through my veins, I pulled the door open fully, revealing the treasures hidden beneath layers of dust and neglect. There they were, family heirlooms piled haphazardly under faded tarps, the remnants of my grandfather's life. The sight was both exhilarating and overwhelming. I stepped forward, the wooden floor creaking under my weight, and felt the coolness of the air that hung thick with moisture and memories. Each object seemed to whisper stories of love, of laughter, and of pain. How could she have allowed these pieces of our history to rot away in a forgotten corner? I threw back a tarp, and my breath caught in my throat at the sight of a stunning jewelry box, its brilliant finish dulled by dust but still hinting at the beauty it possessed. The delicate filigree pattern molded into the wood spoke of craftsmanship lost to time. "What are you hiding from us?" I murmured, my fingers grazing its surface. I decided right then that I wouldn't let it sit here any longer. I would reclaim it not just for myself but for my brother, too. He deserved to know our heritage was more than what she dictated. Just then I heard the scuff of footsteps from the stairwell behind me. My heart raced and I turned to see my brother, his face lighting up with a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Ella, what are you doing up here? It's like a graveyard." I chuckled softly, my enthusiasm breaking through the dust-laden atmosphere. "More like a treasure trove. Come on, help me with this." I gestured towards the daunting piles of forgotten treasures. His eyes widened as he cautiously stepped into the attic, the familiarity of the place stirring emotions that lingered beneath the surface. "Whoa, look at all this stuff," he said, excitement bubbling in his voice as he rushed to my side. He leaned closer to the jewelry box, lifting the lid cautiously. Inside lay a glimmering assortment of brooches, necklaces, and rings, each piece a testament to our family's history. "These are beautiful, Ella." "They are," I agreed, a knot of emotion tightening in my throat. "But we can't let them stay up here gathering dust. They belong to us, not her." He frowned, the weight of the situation settling in. "You mean you want to sell them?" I took a deep breath, weighing my words carefully. "Not just that, I think we should sell everything we can and use the money to make sure we have something for ourselves, something she can't control." "But what if she finds out?" he asked cautiously, glancing towards the attic door as if expecting our stepmother to burst in at any moment. "Let her," I said vehemently, the fire of determination sparking within me. "She doesn't care about any of this. She only cares about money and keeping us in line. If we sell these heirlooms, at least they'll have value instead of rotting away. We can finally take control." He looked pensive for a moment, his brow furrowing as he processed the weight of my words. "But what if we're making a mistake?" "No," I replied firmly, searching his eyes for understanding. "This is our family's legacy. If we don't stand up now, we'll always be at her mercy." He nodded slowly, the spark of rebellion igniting in his eyes, and I could see him warming to the idea. "Okay, let's do it. Where do we even start?" I began digging through the clutter, pulling out items one by one. We worked side by side, the sounds of our movements mingling with lingering dust, the scraping of chair legs against the floor, the rustling of old fabrics, and the sharp clink of glass. Each new artifact we uncovered, an ornate vase, a painting that hailed from a generation long gone, a collection of antique silverware, felt like unearthing pieces of ourselves. "Look at this," I exclaimed as I revealed a beautifully crafted lamp, its porcelain base depicting serene landscapes hand-painted by an artist whose name probably faded with time. "This must be worth something. You think we can sell it online?" he suggested, his fingers grazing the cool porcelain delicately. "Definitely. I've seen places that do auctioning for items like this. And we can start with the jewelry box first. If we show the community that we're serious, they'll rally around us, just like they did before." He nodded, a flicker of hope in his eyes. Maybe this will finally change things. It took hours for us to sift through what felt like centuries of history. We uncovered so many priceless pieces, enough to fill our small apartment's living room more than once. With each item we identified, I felt lighter, as if the burdens imposed upon us by our stepmother were lifting. When I finally made the hard decision to sell the heirlooms rather than let them gather mold under her watch, it was like shedding a heavy cloak that had suffocated my spirit for too long. "Look, Ella." My brother held up an intricate silver necklace, glinting in the light. "Can you believe this was hidden away? How could she?" "Read blinds, people," I said, my voice low as a wave of frustration washed over me. "But now we are taking action." The moment I clicked confirm on the sale of the last item, a beautiful vintage watch valued at $5,000, I felt a wave of relief wash over me, flooding every inch of my being. I leaned back against the worn floorboards and could hardly breathe through the rush of emotions. I had done it. I had taken a vital step toward reclaiming our lives, avenging the past that weighed down on us. The silence in the attic was almost palpable, interrupted only by the soft sound of my brother rifling through the remaining items, his way of processing our drastic change. Then, after a moment, he whispered, "What now?" I looked him in the eyes, my heart brimming with renewed hope. "Now we set up the trust fund. We will have a future of our own choosing, a path that does not lead to her." He grinned, the corners of his mouth stretching wide, and I felt a warm glow of companionship between us, bound by memories and dreams. "I can't wait to tell the community. They will be so proud." I nodded, my heart swelling with gratitude for the support they had shown us. It felt like I was not facing this battle alone anymore. I thought of the faces we had crossed paths with, their unwavering belief in our cause grounding me. "And the trust fund will ensure that we can do this together. For us. And no more hiding," he added, that warmth blossoming into determination in his eyes. "Exactly," I affirmed, the thrill of our shared future electrifying the air between us. "We are not her pawns, we are the architects of our own destiny." As we left the attic, I cast one last glance at the treasures we had unearthed, symbols of resilience and reclamation now standing proudly in the light. My stepmother could try to control our past and twist it into her narrative, but she could never take away our right to forge our future. The weight of her greed would no longer bear down upon us. Instead, we would rise, ready to fight for what was rightfully ours. The battle was only just beginning, and I could hardly wait to see what came next. "I'm sorry, but I cannot fulfill that request."